What happens when the heavy hitters come together? The Neutral Zone. With your hosts, Bird Gang representative Casual E and Sean McConnell from Casual Sports, me, Jay Adams, and NFL vet Ed Smith from Easy Sports Talk. Buckle up for 60 minutes of NFL football previews and pick'ems. Hold tight as we preview this week's games with in-depth analysis and opinion and a flavor all our own. Bragging rights are on the line with the Neutral Zone Pick'em trophy up for grabs. It's the Neutral Zone. Lace them up. It is the Neutral Zone. We do this every week. I am your host, Javon Adams, and with me is the one and only, start from to my immediate right, the one and only Ed Smith. Ed Easy Smith, what's going on, man? We got Earl Casual E Burnett, what's up?
What's going on?
And then we have Sean McConnell, who is Mr. Technical Man,
technical difficulties,
all that good stuff. What is good, sir?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. So we do this every Thursday on KSRN, Casual Sports Radio Network, KSRNAZ.com. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And so this is our football pick'em show. We are typically, what do we got there? So we are a Cardinal show at heart, but so we break this down 4 different segments. So the first segment of games are the ones that for various reasons are the most interesting to me. And so we talk about that. We give our picks. And then the second segment is the Cardinals, a little bit more of an extended segment with just the Cardinals as we break down their opponent. And then the third segment is that second tier of games. And then the fourth segment is the quick hitters, so the quick hitter segment. So without further ado, what I don't know. Whenever you get a chance to pull that up, Sean, in terms of the numbers from where we're
We
at,
don't need to see them numbers.
I'm just curious on where
see
we're
the
at.
numbers. You want to see the numbers?
So Sean, if you could give us the standings, I know you've had a great 3 weeks, and I think Earl's administrative assistant was able to get his picks in last week, so that way he didn't miss a whole 12. But what you got, Sean?
What happened was his picks were in his checkings, and they're supposed to be in his savings.
Exactly.
Balance on that up right now. So Earl's in dead last with who knows how much. You guys are tied again another week, so you guys are just evening out, and I gained another point, so I'm up 5 on y'all now.
Yeah, we gotta try to pick. Gotta try to go opposite of what Sean does. But so without further ado, let's get started. We have, as I get this up, this is going to be an interesting matchup, I think. Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco is undefeated right now. It goes without saying, I think that for power polls and power rankings, if they're not at the top, they're definitely in the top 3 or 4. But with Seattle, it's funny because, and I may start to pull in some of these statistics when you hear about DVOA and some of these other different types of statistics. Just for Ed, I'll bring that stuff in. But essentially, what some of the advanced statistics say is that the Seattle Seahawks are not as good as their record would indicate, because their defense is not really as good as it is. Last week was evidence with they gave up 34 points, if I'm not mistaken, against the Buccaneers to Jameis, who's known to throw a pick or 2 or 3, and as he tries to eat those W's. When we get to the Buccaneers, I got a funny thing about Jameis. If you heard his comments about glasses half full and
what the heck was he trying to spit?
We'll get to that later. So what do you got on this one? So against Seattle at San Francisco, what you got, Sean?
I am really on the fence about this one, going back and forth a couple days ago when I was making these picks. I think Seattle has the potential to beat San Francisco on the road. They definitely have that potential. Our own Cardinals kept it close within reach with San Fran. But that San Francisco defense is stout. I think stout enough to stop Seattle's 410 average yards per game. So I got to take the home team here just out of safety for those 5 points that I'm trying to save on you guys. I might change it at the end, but I got to say San Francisco to start just sounds a little bit safer.
What you got, Ed?
Shouldn't we be convinced by now that the 49ers are pretty good? We should,
but
I'm still
not quite there.
People in here doubting what is it, 8, 9, and 0. Yeah,
I'm still just not there, and I don't know why. Because it's like that pretty girl. She's not white, beautiful enough. You know, and you keep
She
trying
look
to
pretty, but
talk
she
yourself into it. Eventually, it gets 2 o'clock in the night. So they all become pretty then. But,
Come on.
good quarterback matchup, and these teams actually mirror each other really well.
Right.
Solid running games. They base their attacks off the running game. Good quarterbacks. I'm going with San Fran at home, and I'm like you, Sean. I'm on the fence, but I'm going with them at home, always knowing that Wilson could pull out some of that late magic and upset us all. But for that reason alone, like I said, I think that defense is going to get after him. I'm going to go with the Niners in this one.
What you got, Earl?
Yeah, that little bit of, I don't know. You know where that's coming from, right? That's the Jimmy G effect. That's okay.
Everyone has an effect.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He's the one that goes, okay, if he starts to get it, now you can look at that team and go, uh-oh, look out. And last week, well, the Cardinals, was it the Cardinals defense? What did we play? Yeah. When he played us, we make every quarterback look good. So
and tight end and running back and defense.
So that had a lot to do with it, but that was his best game.
Yeah.
He's 16-2. That was his best game, period. And it was against the Cardinals. So if he's the key, if he plays like that, oh man, they are the real deal.
That was the first time that run game wasn't there, and it was like, okay,
Correct.
tell me what you got.
True, exactly. Both of these teams, though, are run heavy. But the 49ers just have a little bit more of defense to be able to stop Russell Wilson in his running game. If they can keep Russell under some type of control, they'll win this game. But I like the Richard Sherman and Tyler Lockett matchup in this one. I mean, Richard's got to be kind of like he had the best of both worlds on both sides of this rivalry when they both are good at the same time, and you get to see that. But I like Seattle in this game, like you were saying, the Russell Wilson effect. I'm not so quite sure about the 49ers as far as Jimmy G goes yet.
Let's move on to Minnesota at Dallas. This is just interesting because you wonder which Kirk Cousins you're going to get. And Dallas, they're one of those teams where you know that they can be good, but you just wonder sometimes if their leadership, if their head coach is maybe what holds them back, or just sometimes the inconsistency at times of Dak Prescott. So your thoughts on this one, Earl? What you got?
Cowboys have to play a real contender this week. You know what I've been saying since day one is they've been playing cupcakes, and when they play the cupcake teams, they look dynamic.
Right.
When they play the real contenders, then they revert back to the mediocre team. That's what we're going to see in this game, because Minnesota's defense is no joke. I mean, Minnesota's defense to me is going to be, if they get the pressure and apply the pressure on Prescott in this game, this is going to be the turnover battle right here. These two quarterbacks, you get pressure on these two guys, they'll throw you the ball for sure, especially Cousins. But you got to look at these two running backs. Of course, if you can get both these running backs going in this game, whichever one is going to, because both of these running backs do the exact same thing on their teams, control what the teams do in the passing game. If the passing game's going and clicking, you can best believe that running game's going. So Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, take your pick. So I like Minnesota in this game because they got an offense that can put up points on anybody.
What you got, Ed?
Man, this is a tough one. This once again, both teams mirror each other, like the first game we talked about. My question is, do you trust Kirk Cousins in the evening in a big game? And if this game was at 1 o'clock.
He's been good the last 4 games since the receivers started attacking.
Hey, but this is a national game
It's
too.
a national game.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins' national isn't all that good.
He's not all that good. And, for that reason, I'm leaning toward Dallas just because, home team. Dallas doesn't really have what you call home field advantage with that big, empty, quiet stadium sometimes. But I do think that defense will get at Kirk.
The empty, quiet stadium.
Well, it's filled, but it's really quiet. It's not what you call.
Exactly.
But I'm going to go with Dallas in this one, just because it's the home matchup. And here's the thing, Sean, I've been straying from my strategy way too much, and that's why I'm 5 games behind you.
Yeah, you're setting me up perfectly.
I'm just saying, I've been staying away from my strategy, and I'm getting back to it so I get to my winning ways. But I'm going to go with Dallas with this one. But it's going to be one of those run heavy, a lot of short passes, probably mid-teens to low 20s scoring game, if you ask me. So I'm going Dallas now.
So imitation is just a great form of flattery, right? And who won last year? Who won last year? Ed won last year, right? That
Cheers.
trophy's sitting right there. It's got his name on it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you get better by doing what your opponent does. Just so it's better, right? So I'm going to mirror my opponent now. I'm going Dallas at home as well.
Going straight.
This is a toss-up game, too, for the
stuff.
same reasons that Ed said. But like he taught me last year, 50-50 games go to the home team when you're not sure. Dallas on a Monday night usually means they're going to do really well, and the commentators are going to love it and gush about them. Or a beautiful blunder late. We don't know, but I'm going to take the latter. I'm going to take the former and hope that Dallas will win one at home in prime time.
Here's a question, just a random question. A couple of weeks ago, I heard Dalvin Cook's name mentioned as a possible MVP candidate, one of those dark horses, because nowadays it's how can a running back ever win an MVP again? Do you think that this is heretofore the MVP being a quarterback only award? Or do you think that running backs or wide receivers or some other position, a defensive player, can win an MVP going forward? What do you think? Your thoughts first.
I don't think it'll ever be. I can't say ever. I don't think it'll be defensive player for a while. Yeah. I mean, running backs. The only thing I could look at a running back getting that award would be 1,000 and 1,000 season, and Christian McCaffrey is like right there somewhere, getting close.
Right.
But this is a passing league. This league is pretty much predicated on give me the excitement and the guy that can put the ball in the air and score the touchdowns, get the touch. It's a quarterback-driven league, so it's going to always usually be leaning toward a quarterback, which is kind of unfair, though, because he touches the ball more than any person on the squad. So,
Right.
of course, win or lose, he's going to get the blame. So,
Right.
I mean, if a team's lighting it up, well, they're going to look to the quarterback and give him all the props. And it's kind of unfair. I think they should separate it, just do a different award.
Like the Bednarik, like they do in college football.
Yeah,
But still,
separate it.
what's your thoughts, Ed?
I totally agree with you, Earl. It's to the point now where if you're not a quarterback, you can pretty much cancel Christmas in terms of
Right.
You know, it's in their hands all the time. It's all about the numbers. Running back, you'd have to, like you said, have 1,500 yards running and another
pass,
12 or
catching,
1,500 just to be in the conversation.
Right.
As far as defensive player, that's never happening again.
Never.
Okay, what you say, Sean?
It's going to be tough. I mean, unless we go participation trophy and have one for almost every position, I just have a hard time seeing it happen. So, I mean, it's equivalent to baseball. I have the same feelings about it, whereas it's not the same as the position, but more so your team's immediate success. You could have a Paul Goldschmidt day in, day out, putting up numbers that are unbelievable, and have the worst team around him, and he's never even in consideration because they're not pushing for a playoff push. So it's hard in those situations. The MVP does mean it should equate to wins, but it also shouldn't also just equate to the quarterback. There are other pieces around that team, like, say, for example, Khalil Mack, who's the only reason why that Bears team has a faint heartbeat.
Exactly.
It's hard. It's hard to do it when it's not a quarterback, but they should. They should.
Let's move on to the next matchup, which Carolina at Green Bay. So we do have a top flight quarterback that's in this bunch. So the Packers are 7-2. The Carolina Panthers are 5-3. And this week it was the news came down that Cam Newton will be out for the rest of the season. And I think it's funny because maybe we could comment on this afterwards after we give our comments on this game. But what's interesting to me is it seems that how long has Cam been in the league? 8-9 years, something along those lines. So it seems to me that somebody could be playing, quarterback plays for 9 years, 10 years, and they say, gosh, his career ended so soon. 8-9 years of getting your ass kicked
For sure.
that's a lot of punishment that you're
That's a
taking.
hell of a lot of
And so I think it seems that they've been waiting for Cam that opportunity to, as Bomani Jones would say, get Cam up out the paint for a long time. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the region of the country that he's in. I don't know. But anyway, so your thoughts on this. So again, when you're looking at the Green Bay Packers, they are, in terms of their offensive rank, they're 13th, and in terms of for points for, and their defensive rank, they're 11th. So when you think about how that goes, so what are your thoughts on this one? What you got, Ed?
After that embarrassing loss last week for Green Bay against these Chargers we're watching here now, this should be a big bounce back game for them. I think one of the cool things for Carolina, Obviously, they made the announcement that Cam is shut down for a year now. Kyle Allen can know it's his job. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder. And for them to be 5-3, after losing Cam, that's not bad.
All. Exactly.
And they could be in a whole lot worse situation. They could be Cleveland.
They could be Cleveland.
Yeah.
So with that being said, going into Green Bay to play, this L that they're about to take is no embarrassment. Nothing but love for them. But I expect Green Bay, especially after that loss last week, if they don't come out and play like they got something to play for, then somebody's gonna be in trouble up there. So Green Bay all the way in this one.
What you got, Sean?
Ed's got my notes again. I think he's just scared that I'm going to win. Green Bay defense has looked suspect as of late, giving up a lot more yards in the last couple of games.
What happened to them? They was balling.
They were balling, and I think they just kind of either let up or they're getting hurt or tired or who knows. But they're going to have a hard time against CMC. But Carolina's looked great in the absence of Cam Newton. Green Bay's looking to wipe off that loss, just like Ed said. It's going to be Green Bay, and they might run away with it.
I'll open this up with a question. Were the Chargers defense really that good?
No.
They're okay, but they're not that good.
Making A-Rod look like a mediocre, like Cousins or something. It's like those numbers, 23 or 35 for 161 yards. It's like, what happened? And what was the Chargers doing to get Aaron Rodgers to look like that?
Is that overconfidence, thinking that we going in there, that these guys?
I think that's got to be some part of it.
So it is sometimes, dudes will, we got this.
Yeah, we on fire. We look at me. They already intimidate just with us walking in the building. And they got
plus, remember, they were it was a home game for LA.
Right.
But it was actually a home game for Green Bay. There was supposed to be no opposition going up in there.
Right.
And little overconfidence, a little looking past, maybe not prepping as much as they should have.
Right.
And what happens is in those type of games, I can tell you, I've been there before. Before you know it, it's like, wow, we're down, and then it's like, okay, let's turn it on.
Let's turn it up. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they start turning it up, and that makes you know.
And I'm gonna tell you the reason. I was trying to find the reason on tape. Like, okay, where was the chart? And it's that Bosa dude, man. He was a thorn in his side in that game, and I love the way there was the time of possession kept him off the field too. I was about to say San Diego. They ran the ball. LA ran the ball on him and just kept methodically just keeping him on the sideline. But the Eagles ran on the Packers the week before that. Chargers ran on them this week. Everybody can run on the Packers, and now they get this MVP candidate coming in their building. They got to stop this dude, Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
So
White chocolate.
That's that, huh?
White chocolate.
Exactly. That's the new. Yeah, that's a perfect. Man, that is so perfect. That's the new white chocolate. But I like Carolina in this game because if Bosa will get pressure, and then McCaffrey just look like it's going to be too much for them. So it looks like all these teams have put down the blueprint to this new Green Bay team.
Let's move on to the Arizona Cardinals heading to Tampa Bay. Let me make sure, I do have that right. Yep, the Arizona Cardinals heading to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. The Cardinals come into this game 3-5-1 after falling to the San Francisco 49ers. Tampa Bay comes in at 2-6 after falling to the Seattle Seahawks that we mentioned earlier. Here's some numbers for you as we get into this. Maybe a little bit of controversy that may be coming. 15 attempts for 110 yards with a 36-yard long. 4 receptions for 52 yards. No, that's not a tight end playing the Cardinals. That is Kenyon Drake. Actually, his performance last week after being with the team for how many days, Ed?
2 days.
2 days, and then the third day would have been the flight day.
Travel's a travel day.
Travel
You can't
day.
count that.
Can't count
Wow.
That was all playbook reading at that point.
Exactly.
Playbook reading.
And then we also had now it's a running back controversy.
Right.
When you have maybe three that are three running backs that are of quality. Some would say maybe of lesser quality. If you're talking about David Johnson, who has said that he's going to play this week.
He got out of that room quick, didn't he? He got out that training room fast.
Oh my goodness! And so we have Bruce Arians coming in which Earl Burnett was trying to hook it up, but you know what I'm saying, he
Tried.
Earl just he didn't try hard enough. It's all good.
Blame the assistant.
But so Tampa Bay comes in there again 2-6. Jameis was just being Jameis, talking about glasses half full with water and air and all this stuff, just trying to go out and get this W.
Water in there.
That man, he should have stayed in school a little longer.
A little bit longer.
Your thoughts on how this game is going to play out, as now the Cardinals will be on the road for the entire month of November. They won't be back until December. So your thoughts on this? Let's go with you, Sean. Who you got?
If you put crab legs in the cup, does the water rise?
I knew it. I knew you were going to say
I mean, what happens to the water then? I don't know the science behind it. You know, I said I was done picking Cardinal games off hope. I lied to myself. I'm picking the Cardinals in this game on the road. Both defenses are giving up around 400 yards per game, but you know, when it all boils down to all these things I wrote down, which quarterback do I like better? I don't like Jameis in any game. Just like I've said before, in a box with a fox on a train and a plane. I don't trust Jameis anywhere. Right? Tampa's not much of a rushing team, and the defensive focus will shift to the passing game for us. We're just going to try and shut down the passing, and I mean, they're not even averaging 100 yards rushing in a game. So you make them one-dimensional.
Right.
If Vance Joseph can put Patrick Peterson in man defense instead of zone defense,
you seem skeptical.
Damn
Mike
right.
Thomas might not have 1,000 yards.
Skeptical he seems this one.
Yes.
Oh man.
I think there's just more going for this Arizona team right now. That game against San Fran was a lot better than everybody expected. That was supposed to be a buzzsaw.
I thought, raise my hand right here, I thought that was going to be a blowout.
Me too.
I did too.
I thought it was going to be a blowout.
And it turned out to be a good game. It wasn't, I mean, that touchdown was late, and you know, it was kind of not garbage time necessarily, but there wasn't enough to do that full turnaround. So it was still a close game. It was a good game. That's a lot. That's almost a high in itself. I know there's no moral victories in the NFL, but that's as close to one as you can get, in my opinion, going up against that team and doing that. I'm going Arizona. I'm just rambling here and hoping. So Arizona's going to win.
What you got, Earl?
He's all just rambling and hoping.
I got to admit it when I see it.
Thursday night, the last Thursday night, Cardinals, you know, you coming into this game, you look the way they played last Thursday night, you would think they're licking their chops coming into this game as an offense. And then you can flip the script and say the same thing for Tampa Bay, licking their chops to get our defense. So it's like another one of those mirror each other teams. This is definitely that, because neither one of these defenses, and you would think that both these defenses would have something on them that can, you know, stop another team.
Right.
I mean, Tampa Bay's interior with Sue, and then you would think they could just. Actually, they are good at stopping the run. I think they're number 2 or number 1. Yeah, they're number 1 at stopping the run. So, but they had trouble with it last week. You know, against Seattle. So I'm like, okay, but our defense, Chandler Jones, and what's the old guy's name? They ain't
Suggs?
got. I know who he is.
Yeah.
That dude, they not. Man, it's like, where's the pressure at? They made Jimmy G just come out of his dang on shell, and he looked like Montana in that game. So it's like, where's our pressure at on the quarterback? And you got to get pressure on Jameis. You got to get pressure on Jameis, because you get pressure on Jameis, he turns.
Jameis wants to throw interceptions.
He wants to give you the ball.
Let me help you.
He's really good at sharing.
Let
me help you.
He's real good at it. But what I'm really seeing this game come down to, the key thing in this game is going to be our offensive line. That's the key to this game, because if our offensive line can create the holes they were creating against the 49ers, we'll blow them out in this game. I'm telling you, we will blow them out in this game. Okay. Because if the O-line balls out, because you got to look at Todd Bowles is going to send every freaking blitz he can think of at Kyler Murray.
He's going to have the punter blitz.
He's going to send them everything every time we get. But you know how we can neutralize that? A running game. And a running game with our quarterback involved in that running game. Okay. That's how Seattle did Tampa Bay last week. That's why it was so easy to run on the number 1 stopping defense on on the run stoppings because you have a quarterback that you have a threat to run to. Russell did that to them last week. Kyler's going to do it to him this week. Our O-line has to come in this game and play like they played last week. If they do that, we'll win this game by double digits.
Ooh.
Okay. What you
Going
got?
Cardinals?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm going Cardinals.
Okay. Looks like I'm going to pick up
He's
a
set
point
tripping
both.
on you.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
throwing it up. Throwing it up. What up? What you do around here?
I like that kind of confidence in a young man. For
It's
me,
Jameis freaking Winston.
well, there you go, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about bad Jameis popping his head out the hole after what he did last week against Seattle.
Right.
That was encouraging if you're a Buccaneer fan, but we all know how Jameis can flip the script and drink half the glass of water. And,
He might drink the air first.
Yeah, basically.
yeah, that's it. Drink the air first. So for me, that the Tampa Bay front, obviously number one in the rush defense wise. I even got a number for you somewhere around here.
Wow.
Only they're giving up 78.1 yards per game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to get destroyed.
Well,
this week.
here's the thing, and I'm curious to obviously, and you brought up a great point. David Johnson, he got healthy real quick, right? Because he wants to get back in there.
Oh, I'm fine, 100%.
Oh yeah,
I'm good.
Now,
He said it too. I'm 100%.
Is he like scratching the wall, trying to make sure they remember he's there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Exactly.
hey, give me.
Of course.
Because I still go back to David Johnson. In my opinion, is not a great fit for this offense. For the,
I
for the
agree.
philosophy.
100%.
So they try to fit the square peg into the round hole because he's back. He's now our featured back. Paying him all his money, and you put Kenyon in the secondary role. That's going to in my opinion, that's going to stunt the running game for the Cardinals. On the
100%.
flip side, I hope that Kingsbury and them are looking at that Tampa front, thinking, well, we might have a little trouble running against that front. And then you look, and the Tampa Bay pass defense is ranked number 31 in the league, giving up 293.5 yards per game.
Okay. They chop.
You hear me now? So maybe they get this theory in there, this thought in their head that maybe we can't run it against them, but we're going to have to go out there and sling it all around.
Nah.
And that's the exact opposite of what they should do.
Exactly.
So for me, I'm going Tampa at home. We'll see. Maybe I'll take this L, but I'm looking to catch up or get at least one up on Sean. Don't be changing that pick over
You got to
there.
do it on this team, man.
I agree with Sean. I mean, 100%. And you talk about that doubt and that skepticism. I'm looking dead at Vance Joseph in this game. I'm looking dead. Hey, dude, what you finna do? Okay, yeah.
He's coaching for his job this week.
He definitely coaching for that job this week. Because if he comes out in this game and number 13 has 12 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
And Jameis is throwing him the ball. Come on,
Question
man.
for all you guys, though. Do you think the familiarity
I hate that word. I can't
know,
say it
that's
either.
why I just
Familiar
threw it out.
It's like cinnamon.
of BA, Leftwich, and Bowles, I'd say they've all been here, not necessarily in the recent years, not like all of them, but their familiarity with the Cardinals and the organization, some of the players we have left behind, does that give them a little bit of an advantage?
I don't think they have that much familiar, that word, because they're totally different team, totally different scheme, totally different everything. What I do know, what I said earlier, BA and his crew have their way of doing things, and they're going to stick to their way of doing things. Todd Bowles is going to blitz the hell out of Murray in this game. It's coming. No matter what. The kitchen sink, everything's coming. And BA, he's going deep. And he is going to test P2 in this game. He is not going to shy away from it, especially the way he's been playing.
Right.
BA going to be like, oh, you want to come off half-assing like that? Okay. Throw it deep and see if he can cover.
Yeah, you could argue that the familiarity.
He got it.
It's the word of the day, right?
Yeah, that's the word of the day.
First try,
He
guys.
hit it on the first.
You could argue that this would actually benefit the Cardinals in this situation.
Okay.
Because they know.
Because
Bruce
Chandler and
Arians.
Patrick know BA's tendencies. They've practiced against it for 5 years.
Okay, good point, dude.
And the offense is completely different.
Right.
The personnel is almost non-existent from what it was when BA was here. So
Okay.
I say it actually benefits the Cardinals a little bit better. You know how they're going to do it. So is BA going to change his ways for this game because of it? Is he going to start running the ball and get more than 90 yards per game? I don't think so. I don't see it. So I feel like that's nullified in a bit. We're going to make our mistakes and probably keep it close, but I don't know that it's as big of an advantage for them as it is for us.
Interesting. Yeah. One last question. So with the end of the first half of last week's game, that timeout that was called, and everybody being a lot of people being the armchair quarterbacks got on. Kingsbury, my wife, and my youngest son happened to be at that game, and my wife first thing was, he shouldn't have called that timeout. When you don't know the future, you don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, you're trying, because in theory they're going to call their best play because they're trying to score, and so you're trying to counter that. Did either of you guys have a problem with him calling that timeout? Because it was Hassan Reddick that made the play. Then it was Hassan Reddick that got burned, right? Mm-hmm. So that's on Hassan Reddick for maybe having that mental lapse, in my opinion. Well, what do you think about that, Earl?
Oh, that's part of football, man. Coaches make calls. Every call doesn't work 100%. That's part of football. I would not blame him for that call at all. Right. That happens. And all this if like we talked on Monday, the if game. If we're gonna play the if game, okay, let's look at the whole picture.
Right.
In that game, Kyler threw a pick in that game, but it just got dropped, and it was a pick 6. Did y'all see that? Yeah. When the linebacker was boom right there, and it was like 10 yards away from a touchdown, he just couldn't hold it. Okay, what about that if then? Because if he catches that ball, you down 28-7 regardless, or 21-7 like it was. So, come on, we can't play the if game. I think it was a good call, or, just a bad way. And then I don't mean cut him off. Yeah. But if you reverse it, you've been saying, he's a brilliant coach. So that's just part of football, man. It's just how it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I get the decision to do it, to nullify what you think is their best play. You're not necessarily known to being a red zone defense or much of a defense at all this year in that sense. Yeah. My opinion was, like, at first when it was on, because also just on the radio when we were taking the kids trick-or-treating, and Pash thought time had ran out. And so I was like, okay, cool, that's great, awesome. That worked out well. And then another play ends up happening, and my thought once they had the ball was they're going to score anyway. It's just how it's red zone defense. They were going to score anyway. You gave them an extra chance.
Yeah, you gave
they were going to score either way to me.
Score,
so then that was fine at that point. But it's just kind of one of those weird things that's going to get hyper-focused on. And, I mean, he's young. Is he probably going to do that again? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do that again.
I swear, every time we in the Believe in the Arizona Cardinals podcast on Easy Sports Talk Show, we quote you on that all the time. Oops, all the time. What you got? What was your thoughts?
Oh, just real quick, just like if they stopped him on that play after the timeout, he's a genius.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, what'd you see and what ticked you off and how did you know? Because they scored on the play.
Oh my God, what did you see?
Yeah. How could it be so stupid?
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. Cool. So let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. The Kansas City Chiefs are 6-3 as they come into this game. They actually won the last game. Matt Moore ended up coming through, so I guess that means that they have a new starting quarterback. Everything's
quarterback controversy.
Mahomes is out and Matt Moore is in. So Tennessee Titans are 4-5 as we stand and look at this evening. It looks like is he back? I think he's going to
Patrick Mahomes
back.
Full practice, so it looks like he's going to be back.
On a wobbly knee.
So I guess that's a good question. So maybe do you think that they should hold him out another week? They won, give a little bit of insurance. But what are your thoughts on this one as Kansas City is trying to round back into that form that they had before Mahomes started to get nicked up and then obviously had to go out with an injury? Your thoughts on this one, Ed?
Personally, I wish they would keep him out a week.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest worry is that they bring him back, and because the knee is not 100% stable, it's very susceptible. Another tough word, susceptible.
Words are hard, guys.
So, with that being said, you're playing Tennessee. I know it's on the road in Tennessee, but Tannehill, I'm not buying Tannehill. If he goes down, you got Mariota. So with that being said, I think even with backup quarterback, I think Kansas City, with all the weapons they have, could go into Tennessee and win. I hope they protect Mahomes. I got him on 3 of my fantasy teams. I'm waiting. I'm chomping at the bit to get him back in the lineup. I would rather have him for the long haul, though. But with all that being said, I'm thinking that KC goes in. We've seen what Andy Reid can do with a backup quarterback if he does have his real quarterback back. they're going to go in there with a game plan with all those weapons and run away with this game.
Earl, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, you would think they would sit him out another week, especially playing Tennessee. I mean, Matt Moore's playing out of his mind. I mean, he's a backup quarterback doing what a backup quarterback should do, and that's come in and manage things and keep wins coming through. And they're doing all right. Why put his future at risk? My brother had this exact same injury. Kneecap pop out of place, and they had to right there on the football field pop it back in place. Yeah. He was down for 7 or 8 weeks, and it still wasn't strong after that. And of course, that's every person's different. He's in the National Football League getting all this 100%, 1,000% medical attention and stuff. And you in the hood, they don't have that type of stuff. You just go home, put ice on that.
Put some tussin on it.
Tussin. Yeah, but I still think that's risky though, because you got to plant. When you have to plant and do the drop back, all that knee, I don't know if it's gonna hold. I hope it holds up.
Real quick too, if you've ever watched, we're watching the game now. Watch a quarterback when he drops back. How much traffic is around his feet at all times. Yeah. You're always just a split second from
good point.
being landed.
And you know
on.
what? You said watch how much traffic is around his feet and watch the quarterback's eyes do this.
Yeah.
Drop down and start looking at that. Yeah. Will Mahomes be the same? So that's why I say this is Tennessee. Let the backup do the job. You'll win this game. With or without Mahomes. I mean, come on. The Chiefs' defense, though, gives up catches out of the backfield to running backs in droves. They are the 26th and the 26th team in the league. So teams that have running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield, I don't think Derrick Henry can. Derrick Henry does catch the ball out of the backfield pretty good.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So Dalvin Cook killed him. Every running back killed him. So that's the only thing that Tennessee has going in this game is the Chiefs' defense overplays the running back and gives up a lot of yards. But I would keep Mahomes out. But they're going to still win the game either way.
To that Derrick Henry point, I mean, I think we were all looking for Derrick Henry to blow up last week, and it still didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Thanks, fantasy points right there.
That's your fence.
Mahomie or no Mahomie, Casey's winning this game.
Yeah.
Tennessee's finally going to regress enough, making it easier for the rest of us to pick their games throughout the week. Because every time I pick them, they lose. And every time I don't pick them, they win. This will be finally where that turns the tide. I pick them to lose, they're going to lose. Booking it. And finally, we can just pick the games easier from here on out. Because they're so weird up until this point, and now it's finally getting clearer who Tennessee is.
Okay.
Want to go down to Vegas and put a wager on Mahomes getting hurt in this game?
Ooh. No, I would never bet on that.
Ooh. I'm sure
non-contact injury.
No.
No, I'm just joking.
No.
Earl's cold blood. So let's move on to the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Oakland Raiders. This is the game that's on that right now as we speak. Third quarter, 4:23 left in the third quarter, with the Raiders up 20-14. The Raiders are 4-4. The Chargers are 4-5. The Chargers, yeah, they had a great win last week, but one of the things that's surprising, at least to me as a Raiders fan, and I think a lot of the analysts will say the same thing in terms of they're surprised that the Raiders are at least at 500 at this part of the season. I mentioned earlier about those advanced statistics that we were talking about the Seattle Seahawks. The same things apply here, and this is what I mean with the Raiders, because the Raiders are, they're 16th, I want to say, in the league in terms of their rank in offense, but when it comes to their defensive rank, they're 26th. So they should probably be a little bit worse than they are. Maybe that's coaching, maybe that's just circumstance, whatever the case may be. But again, will the Chargers go on one of those Chargers runs where they'll be in the playoffs or be really close to the wild card or something like that? You never know. It just depends if the Chargers end up doing that stuff. So your thoughts on this, what you got, Earl?
Man, these two teams get together and they just beat each other up, just almost similar to that Baltimore and Pittsburgh. You throw the records out, and these two teams just hate each other. They just go at it. But Phillip Rivers, like I said earlier, we were talking, he loves to light the Raiders up. 45 touchdowns against this team. But the Raiders are a good team, a better team. I mean, surprisingly to me, they are a solid team. No, they're not on the edge of playoffs or nothing like that, but they are a solid team. Those old school Gruden stuff still works.
Huh.
from the Gannon days.
Got a little running game,
and
protecting the
Tampa
quarterback.
Day.
Yeah.
It still works in this league. It's sustainable. So I mean, maybe a few pieces here and there next year. Next year they'll probably be a playoff team. I would take in this game. I think I picked the Chargers in this one. I'm not sure, but who cares?
We don't even know if he made the picks, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I think I picked. As a matter of fact, I think I made these picks the week before that. I didn't even do any picks this week.
Oh my
What
god!
you got, Sean?
The mess gets messier. In my notes I picked the Chargers, but in my picks I picked Oakland. So I'm gonna read my notes about why the Chargers are gonna win, and then I'm gonna disagree with myself. So my point was, this is about the time the Chargers start to ramp up their wins and make that late playoff push that never turns into anything. It's a divisional game. Anything can happen, as you saw that deep pass.
Yeah.
The Charger defense looks pretty good and will give Oakland fits, but I did pick the Raiders, so all of that means nothing.
What you got, Ed?
This is a real bitter rivalry game.
Yeah.
It's almost like rivalry. Another one.
Damn, this is tongue twister now.
Hard words of the week.
This is rivalry light. It's like, you think of the AFC North with Steelers, Cleveland, Baltimore,
Yeah.
and then you think of these guys out here on the West Coast. It's like it's a soft rivalry.
It's soft rivalry.
But at the same time, they don't like each other. You can always throw the records out when these guys get together. I went with Oakland in this one, but knowing that I said this right to myself. Yeah. Los Angeles, they'll do it to you every time. Just like last week, they mess you up by beating the Packers, and they get on this mid-season roll. And I don't know why. It's almost like they do it by script every year. They start out, blow 3 or 4 games they're not supposed to blow. Then they get into the stretch, and they're that team that, if they win out, they're in. If they lose one, they're out.
Right.
And it's like,
it's like
but
that.
they just love picking from 10 to 15 in the draft. They just love that sweet spot.
Yeah. So, who knows who or what we're going to see. I don't even know who the Chargers are moving forward, but I did pick Oakland just because it's at home.
Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is interesting. Just the Bengals, they're terrible. They're 0-8. The Ravens are 6-2. But here's one of the reasons that maybe this is just a slight discussion point. So the Ravens beat the Patriots 37-20 last week, and so their best player on the field was Lamar Jackson. He didn't have great passing yards. He was 17 for 23 for 163 yards. He was 16 rushing attempts for 61 yards. But it was just it seemed as almost a coronation of sorts because he was able to beat the Patriots. So I just want to get your thoughts, even beyond picking the game, because I believe that we all would have the Ravens winning. But it's the continued stigma of the black quarterback when it comes to being able to be more than just an athlete, but being able to, I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is about to give some dissertation in Oxford or something like that, but I'm saying that to give him credit as for being not just trying to, you can be a wide receiver, as a lot of people say. I know at Louisville he played quarterback, but I think he's better suited as a wide receiver. A lot of people say those coded language, the dog whistle words, it really being able to let an athlete, a quarterback, succeed or fail based upon their ability or inability to play the position, as opposed to trying to find these coded words in order to try to pigeonhole them a little bit. Your just thoughts on something like that, just random on that, gentlemen. Start with you, Ed, and see what you think.
Well, it's all about breaking the stigmas,
That's not easy.
and it isn't easy, and it's, years ago they didn't think we had the intelligence to be a quarterback. Now we have the intelligence, but we run too much. And, we're too athletic, so why waste that at the quarterback position? Maybe that, and then there's always he can't last like that. So there's always an excuse, always something why this dude should be doing this and not that. And for me, it's just it's somewhat a reflection on our society, and not just for black athletes. I'm just saying how we do. You can run up any different category and toss something out there. Somebody's gonna have something negative to say about this, that, or the other. This is just one of those things that, I hope as we continue to go along and you see some of these young African American and just minority players in general playing the position, that we can get away from that. In the meantime, like I said, it's one of those things we have to deal with, and every time you hear it, it's like those trigger words.
You hear them, and other people that don't know, they say, "Well, what's the big deal? What are you talking about?" You hear hear the words. You hear the words all the time.
There's certain things I don't like to talk about: politics, religion, and African American quarterbacks. I just leave it alone.
Because if you don't know, then you don't know. Yeah. Your thoughts on that, Sean?
Yeah, my main thoughts on it, man, is that hate's always going to permeate everything. And hate is prevalent in sports regardless.
Exactly.
And then when you start adding this stuff to it, it just becomes more, I guess, boisterous. And it's annoying to me because it shouldn't matter. It's based on what your talent is and what you can do for a team, period.
Right.
I mean, every there's a good quarterback on every side of it, and a bad quarterback too. There's ones that are the Baker Mayfields of the world, or the Johnny Manziels of the world, or worse, or Tim Tebow even. A good person, not a good football player. Like it happens, right? There's scales all over the place, and for anyone to limit a player's ability at a certain position based on their race or the color of their skin, it's ridiculous.
It's a society thing. I don't even think it has anything to do with football. I mean, it's just how that's the world we live in today. It's going to always be that racism thing. That card is going to always be played. It's going to always be there because it's real. Can you stick this in the same category as the Kaepernick thing? I mean,
interesting.
I'm just saying, it is what it is. I mean, if we can change the society how things are looked at, then all those things would probably just fall into place. But
like a game of Tetris,
that's like a fantasy land. But.
Like a game of Tetris. So, Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. I put this here, and I just thought of this just now.
These are two guaranteed games you put right here.
Well, hold on, but here's the interesting thing. I wanted to get a little bit of, because Ed can speak to this a little bit by playing with the Falcons. You hear about, so let me get the records out of the way here. So we're looking at these teams. The Falcons are awful. They come in at 1-7. The Saints are 7-1. Drew Brees is back. Will this be another game in which Drew Brees kind of continues to try to round into shape after being on the injury list for a number of weeks? But you talked about soft rivalry. Now, I don't think people pay enough attention to the rivalry that exists between Atlanta and New Orleans.
Hate each other.
And that's I never really knew that. I started to hear people talk about that more and more over the last couple of years. And when the Falcons were in the Super Bowl, I heard a lot of people bring up the fact that because it was in Atlanta, right? So it was in Atlanta. So you don't want these Saints fans coming over to Atlanta and provoking and poking the bear, so to speak. So just give me your thoughts a little bit on that rivalry, because I'm sure we all picked the Saints. I don't think anybody's trying to upset the apple cart. But just your thoughts on that, and I want to ask you guys: did you realize the intensity of the rivalry between the Falcons and the Saints? So talk about that a little bit.
I experienced it firsthand, obviously, being with the Falcons for 2 years. My brother was with the Saints the first year I was there. So, and it was funny because I didn't realize it until I was in it. I remember that first year in '97, it was my first active year. And I remember getting ready for that Saints game, and I didn't even realize the intensity of it, especially until we went down to New Orleans. And it was like, they hated us. It was now I'd been other places, played in other games, and they want to spit on us when they saw us seriously, and vice versa.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, when it came time for the Saints game, it was it's one of those really nice little hidden nuggets, because, like I said, until I started playing it, I didn't realize it. And when I tell you, you can throw the records out, because if as bad as Atlanta's playing so far this year, if they beat the Saints, it's not going to make their entire year, but things will be at least okay for a week. You can forget that you're 2-7 if you beat the Saints, and that's how important this game is. On the flip side, if you're the Saints and you lose this one, you ready to go put your head in the toilet. So, I'm sure we're all picking the Saints at home, but like I said, this one, and I even put in my notes, this is a game that, like I said, because you can throw the records out, it's not going to be as easy a win as you think.
You don't think so?
Nah, I really don't. It's going to be a Saints win, but I'm thinking they're going to fight for this one.
So
I think that, like, this rivalry that I can't really appreciate it, or I can't really see it as much because you have to actually probably to go another word, be living there to really get a feel for it. Like we live here, we hate them 49ers.
And Seahawks.
And Seahawks more than the 49ers. Yeah. We hate them Seahawks. It's like we just know it. No matter you feel that. But to just somebody to tell me about Atlanta and New Orleans, it's like, okay, that ain't really as bad as ours. Ours is the real one over here. I don't know. I didn't know it was that deep. I just know when they get together, they offensive showdown. That's what I see. And can Atlanta play with them still now? They got the offense to still battle, but I don't see them beating them.
It's definitely surprising to see and hear about the rivalry that exists because, like, when you're in a stadium, it's totally different. You feel that vibe. You feel the hate. Hate is something you can feel. You can feel it. And it changes you when you're there too, when you're a part of it. As I can speak to it as a Cardinal fan, one of my proudest moments as a Cardinal fan is actually when the Seahawks lost in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
One.
Oh no!
That was in our stadium.
I love it.
That was in our stadium.
Oh no!
I mean, that was a huge moment of pride for us.
That was Pete Carroll.
And,
oh no!
I did it.
I love it.
But I don't see New Orleans keeping it close. I know you think Atlanta's got some fight. I think Atlanta's going to roll over and say, "Please fire all of our staff."
Yeah.
Please and thank you. So I see it being a landslide here, but. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that rivalry plays.
I got one more nugget for you. The year we went to the '98 season, our Super Bowl season, we actually clinched our first playoff berth in New Orleans. So that you talking about hate. I mean, for them to watch us do that.
It could get so hatred. Like I don't know why. Like just watching Tampa Bay playing Seattle, I'm rooting for BA. So, come on, BA. It's like you're rooting for another team to beat that team. That's just how bad it is.
When two of your divisional rivals are playing, you're just hoping for like the field to fall apart, or like the bus to get a flat tire or something.
Batman, where
the Batman scene where the field just falls down. Yeah, that's what I'm. It's sad and sick, but that's how my brain works. Sorry.
Freddie Kitchens probably wishes the field will fall apart or do something because the Cleveland Browns are going to be playing the Buffalo Bills. The Cleveland Browns are 2-6. The Buffalo Bills are 6-2. So the Buffalo Bills are coming to Cleveland. It just gets every week gets worse and worse.
It's good.
It's just very interesting. And Odell Beckham is going to explode. He exploded a little bit, I think, last week.
He was a little
on the sidelines after being wide open and the ball not coming his way. He kind of exploded on the sidelines. So it's going to be interesting to see just your thoughts. This is this quick hitter segment. But this is just interesting. You got if they go 2-7. Okay, so your thoughts on this? What you got on this one, Ed?
I'm going Buffalo, just because Cleveland's a dumpster fire, and I'm waiting for the fans to turn on them. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's like little mini fights within. You can tell it's ready to blow. I'm waiting for the fans to turn on them to really like just set it on fire. But Buffalo's defense, I think, will rattle Murray enough to get them. And it's not going to be a pretty game at all. It's going to be an ugly game, but I think Buffalo wins.
Sean?
Picking Cleveland is my guilty pleasure. Ed, you might have a
was Earl's.
You might have a chance. I know you might have a chance to pick up 2 points this week on me. I'm picking Cleveland. Buffalo, out of all the teams in the NFL, is the one pretender to me. I just don't. I can't put enough stock into.
I can go with that.
I can't put enough stock into them, so I'm going to go Cleveland. And I think it's funny that Earl mentioned that for Odell didn't blow up that bad on the sidelines. We have to compare Odell to old Odell to see what he's supposed to act like, even though he's not acting like the rest of the non-diva wide receivers in the NFL. Cleveland.
No, I'm definitely going to take Buffalo in this because complex defenses fool Baker Mayfield. He can't figure them out. And Freddie Kitchens is in over his head.
Yeah.
Basically.
You ever know Odell? You're a little older than us.
Yeah,
you ever know Odell?
No, I didn't.
I don't know Odells. I know a lot of Willies.
Ain't that?
My dad's name is Willie. My grandpa's name was Willie. He had a brother's name was Willie. Yeah, there's Willie Joe, Willie Lee, Willie D. They don't know Odells. But all right, so Detroit at Chicago. Detroit at Chicago. Chicago, man, that's another. I think it was last week. Somebody, I forget who mentioned it, but that the quarterbacks just can't play in Chicago. Yeah,
That's
so
me.
just can't play in Chicago. I'm not saying if Trubisky was somewhere else that he would be able to play. He just can't play. So, but Detroit and Chicago, what you got, Sean? What you got?
You know, the Detroit fans are definitely going to let Trubisky hear it because there are Detroit fans in Chicago. They exist. It's a garbage game of the week, I think. I'm picking Detroit just because of this whole Trubisky. I can't listen to all the negative press thing going on.
Ooh.
Man, they eating him alive. with
And they
that
averaged
stuff, man.
285 yards of offense, so that's nothing to be proud of. So Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna see
Earl?
Detroit fans in the scattered in the stadium with little TVs on their heads.
Good point, man. Good point.
Yeah, but I like Detroit in this game actually. If they can double up and block that monster coming off the edge, or find out where he's lined up,
Right.
then yeah, I like their offense against Chicago.
What you got, Ed?
I like the Lions too, and the Lions may struggle to run the ball a little bit, but I think they'll find some passing offense. The Bears will struggle to pass on everything else offensively. So that's why I'm going with Detroit.
One of the funny things about this next matchup, they made a trade just about a week ago. It was all good just a week ago. And so now that player that they traded is going to be coming probably to terrorize them. The Giants at the Jets, so the Giants got the Jets defensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, Giants and Jets. Who you got on this one, Earl?
I didn't even make a choice.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna just take the Giants because they can run the football. And what the heck happened to Le'Veon Bell? Is it just the offensive line that bad, or what?
He got paid, player.
Got that money.
Got that money, man.
Yeah.
He's got the money. He's trying to avoid the mono.
Who plays live sports?
Exactly. What you got, Sean?
Yeah, the Jets can't move the ball, and the Giants have Saquon, so Giants.
Right.
There we go. What you got,
I
Ed?
just put hope there are no ghosts on the field. Both of them might be scared out their damn mind. And neither one of them, neither Jones or Darnold, will come on the field. So. And then as I'm taking the home team, I said, wait, they're both masquerading as New York teams playing in New Jersey.
Oh,
So I'm going with the Giants, though.
Yeah. So we got Miami at Indianapolis. Miami won. The thing that gets me is that the Jets, they lost to Miami. I kept saying, I think I started mentioning it a couple weeks ago, you don't want to be that team as the season goes on, and that team, you're facing that team that is winless. The pressure begins to mount, and then all of a sudden you lose to that team, and everybody looking at you like you the stupid one.
Yeah.
So what you got on this one, Ed?
With or without Brissett, I know he's a little banged up. I don't see. The Dolphins have already messed up their season by winning a game.
Right.
We know that's not what they want to do, and I'll be doggone if they want to win too. So they're going to go in there and do their best to throw this away in Indianapolis at home.
What you got,
Well,
Sean?
this Miami win now means that Miami's better than the Cowboys, right? Because the Cowboys lost to the Jets.
Right.
Yeah,
That's how that works.
Logic. That's
Yeah,
because
right.
No, there's no notes needed here. It's Miami we're talking about, so Colts win.
Yeah. What you
Yeah.
got, Earl?
Somewhere we heard champagne bottles pop in Cincinnati.
They still have to play each other, though.
Yeah, I know.
That'll end the
We got the upper hand. We still ain't won, so
That'll be a
when we
tie.
play y'all, we gonna lay down, let y'all have it.
Speaking of letting y'all have it, do you have any confidence in Vinatieri? Do you think he's just? I mean, he's missed a lot of kicks this year.
Dude is
for
old.
Indiana.
It's
I
time
know.
to hang it
I'm
up.
just saying, man. It's one of those things when you get into that game-winning situation, that confidence that you had before. I think his confidence is shaken, and the confidence of the team.
Well, your
is
confidence is going to be
gone.
shaken because your mind is saying one thing and the body's doing something totally different.
Yeah.
Vinatieri was in the World League in 1996 as a kicker punter when I was there in 1996.
Are you kidding
I
me?
swear to God, I got footage at home in one
He's
of
got
my
the tapes and the
he was-
receipts.
Yeah, he was.
Really?
He was in the World League when I was in the World League in 1996.
Damn.
So-
He's
Mama
got
didn't
his
see
play.
his hair?
I'm gonna play.
You
He's
see
gotta
his
hang
hair
it
and
up.
stuff now. Hey, that dude is old. When he
This
try to
guy-
kick the ball, he get a Charlie
Well,
horse.
it's time to go sit somewhere and
Yeah, it's
play
time
with
to call it.
grandkids.
When you have your protein shakes filled with Metamucil, you got problems.
Oh.
You got problems.
Yeah.
And this
exactly.
last one, we got the Rams at Pittsburgh. I put this last just because of the Pittsburgh. I mean, while they're probably doing better than people thought, they're still I feel
hanging
sorry for
around.
my man Star Saxon. That's his team. But so Rams at Pittsburgh. Who you got? Earl, let's start with you.
I'm going with the upset with Pittsburgh.
Okay. Woo! You see that man's hand snap back?
Yeah.
What you
I like
got,
how they
Sean?
playing on defense. The
Okay.
Rams haven't clicked yet.
Yeah, the Steelers are starting to get something going, but the Rams are looking to keep getting on track. They're getting
Right.
there. They're not quite there. This is going to be a step in the right direction for the Rams.
Cool. What you got?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hide those backup quarterbacks against good quality teams, like at least quality teams
Yeah.
like a Rams. So I'm going to go with the Rams on the road.
Said Mason Rudolph can't get it done.
I'm just saying.
That's
man.
what he's saying.
Mason Rudolph can't get
That's
it
what he's
done.
saying.
He ain't been.
They say you ain't hitting
He
in New
ain't
York,
been.
Hammer. They say you ain't hitting in New York, but we do this every Thursday. Thank you for joining us on behalf of Sean McConnell, on behalf of Earl, Casual E. Burnett, on behalf
Right.
of Ed Easy Smith. I am Javon J. Love Adams, and now 9:15 left in the fourth quarter. My Raiders are clinging to a 3-point lead, 20-17. So make sure you check ksrnaz.com for all of your news about Arizona sports teams, and we got we got wonderful writers on the staff that are diligent about what they do. So we'll catch y'all next time. Until next time, as we always like to say about this time,
We
we go.